We're talking about unchecked aggression here.
What the fuck is he talking about?
My rug.
Forget it, Donnie. You're out of your element.
Walter, the Chinaman who peed on my rug, I can't go give him a bill.
The T-18s, so the T-18B1 and B2, they both go up, not a surprise here at all. Both of them are incredibly good, since, as I said, just like the B-18s, the T-18s are some of those machines which are just, they're multi-role, right? So they have access to the bombs, you can go bomb bases, and then after that you can use their offensive armaments to go after other bombers. So the T-18 gets access to 220s, the Akans, and then the 13.2. Very, very good, and the T-18B2 is the same, apart from you have a 57 as well. So these are some of the best bomber hunters in the game. It's been a pleasure killing ME-264s and BV-238s with these, and it looks like with them going up in BR, it's going to be a little bit harder to do, but at least they still will be in the BR range to be able to do it. And now they'll probably go up against a lot better opposition. So yeah, that kind of sucks, but it is how it is. You know, it's just one of those things. They have been performing incredibly well. I mean, my stats in them kind of crazy. So the T-18B2, I have a 2-to-1 KD and also a bunch of ground target kills. And then the T-18B1, we're looking at a 4 KD and then some ground kills as well. So yeah, I've been really enjoying using them as bomber hunters, and I don't think that's going to change. The next thing is the Fire Crest. So the Fire Crest is going down in BR. The Fire Crest itself is a machine that I've really enjoyed. I might be the only person I've ever talked to who's actually enjoyed spading it, but the Firecrest does have some inherent issues in the fact that it doesn't have a lot of ammo, only 600 rounds for its 2 M3 guns. It also, when it comes to secondaries, it isn't that useful, only 2 500s, or a really, well, a lackluster torpedo, let's say. So I can understand why people don't like it. I have generally enjoyed playing it. It doesn't, you know, it's not the best performer in the world, but if you can get on top of someone, if you have the energy advantage, it's very hard for them to shake you off. So it's a nice plane that I've enjoyed. I can understand why people don't like it though, because of the fact that it doesn't have a lot of ammunition and doesn't have a lot of staying power in the fight. The Beaufighter once again goes down in BR to 3.7, change its spawn, that'll be much more useful. The Ki-49 2BL is going down to 3.7, and this is something we talked about last time. So the Ki-49 2B and the 2BL, if you actually go to them in game, so they're in rank 3 right now, they're exactly the same vehicle. Exactly the same vehicle. I have no idea why the Ki-49 2BL was ever a different BR to the Ki-49 2B. The difference between them might be an exhaust pipe, or might be something like that, but at least in game, they are functionally the same vehicle. But for some reason, the 2B late used to be at 4.3. It used to be, you know, a massive swing in BR, but at least now, you know, it's now coming back to 3.7, so the Ki-49 2B will be at the same BR as the Ki-49 2B late. So, you know how they talk about, you know, vehicles that are kind of surplus to requirements? That is one of them, but it's always been weird that it's a different BR. So it's nice to see it's finally, you know, come home to be the same BR as the one in the tag tree. The Ki-67 1Co, this is also going down in BR. Across the board, it seems like they're dropping a lot of the naval bombers, or just dropping a lot of the bombers in general for Japan. And I think this is a good move, basically because they all have really bad stock grinds, and also when we look at their general bomb loads even high up, even stuff like the G5 or the G8, they still have nothing on their competitors like the B-17s, the B-29s, the ME-264s, the Griefs. All of them don't really fit too well when it comes to the matter of air realistic and naval realistic as well. I suppose they get a torpedo, but the B-7A2 exists, and it's just so much easier to use the B-7A2. So putting them down in BR, I think at least gives people more of an incentive to play them, even though I don't think people will play them because of their fundamental stock issues. The ME264 is going up to 4.7, praise the Lord. For he has given us another joyous moment for the 264 to go up. After I made that video talking about how the 264 was justifying its repair costs because you couldn't kill the damn thing, guess what? You still can't kill the damn thing if people play it correctly. So seeing it go up in BR is only positive. Hopefully that means it runs into more interceptors and it will be able to be dealt with. It also means that it going up in BR alongside the T-18s, the T-18s will still be able to face it. So yeah, the ME264 is a crazy machine in game, and I understand a lot of people don't see it that way, but just go and get a 3 or 4 man squad. You can end games in 5 minutes. The J26 is going down. This is the Swedish P51, and the P51D China and the P51D 20NA are also going down to 4.3, so they probably all have the same flight model. And so it was kind of weird with the J26, you know, the one in the Swedish tech tree. It's another Mustang. I mean, Mustangs I really enjoy flying, but at the end of the day, they're still just Mustangs, you know. It's very odd seeing for China get like the P51K and the J26 coming into the game and having them at different BRs to some of their counterparts from other nations, especially the Americans, you know, with stuff like the D5 being at 4.3 and the D30 being at 5.0. I can't really understand why something like the J26 was at 4.7 along with the P51D20. So to see it go down is nice. Hopefully it means it's more useful. Hopefully it means, you know, there's a reason to play it. But at least for me, I don't see the point in playing it just because of the fact it's another P51. I've already spaded a ton of them. It's the only plane I've actually skipped in the Swedish tech tree. I've spaded everything else, and I'm up to the J29 right now. You know, I've been playing the J21 and the A21RA and RB, and yeah, I've been thoroughly enjoying them, and I've spaded everything else in the Swedish tree, but I just cannot bring myself to play another Mustang. I've played too many of them. I am too used to them. It is incredibly boring. And since you're in Sweden, you have the same matchups as you do with America, so it doesn't even change it that much. The Brigand is also going down to 4.3. The Brigand has never justified its BR because its bomb load isn't good enough, and also it has no secondary capabilities such as guns to be able to go after any other machines. Just put it like this. So the Brigand is going down to what the ME264's old BR used to be. The Brigand carries 2 1,000-pound bombs. So that's all you need to know. It's okay in ground realistic with the bombs, but understand you're not normally going to come out of it alive, and also you can get the same job done with something like a Typhoon or a Tempest and still be better combat effective afterwards. So seeing it go down in BR, this will just mean it'll be a better bomber interceptor instead of just an out-and-out bomber. Overall, I don't think it'll change it that much. The P1Y1s, so this is the Japanese and the Chinese one, both going down in BR. I think these are good moves. The P1Y1 only really has use in ground realistic, and what I mean by this is if you have a look at its general bombers, oh no, I suppose it's useful in naval now. But when it comes to bomb loads and air realistic, they're not powerful enough. They're not good enough. And also because of how the guns work, you can't really go after targets either on the ground, or at least it's very hard to do even after soft targets. So you're pretty much limited to the bombs. It does have the torpedo, which I did forget about, so I apologize for that. But that should be good against destroyers and cruisers. Generally, you can just go full speed and drop it, so that's nice. And in ground as well, you can use it to kill 2 targets. I actually take it at 4.7 with a pretty good lineup in ground. I take it with the Cheeto late and also stuff like the Chaffee and even the Chinu 2 and the Cheeto just to pretty much use it to kill 2 targets with the 500s. They do have good explosive mass, so you just have to land it near the enemy and you can do pretty well with it. So at 4-3, this just means that you can run it with the 4-3 lineup instead of the 4-7 of the Cheeto, the Chaffee, and also the Chino 2, so it can be a little bit more effective. Still got a rough stock grind though, both of them do, especially the Chinese one, because of, you know, what you fight with, so just remember about that. The Ki-67 one, Otsu, is also going down in BR to 4.3. The Otsu, once again, the same story as the Ko, it really struggles in a stock grind. 15 50 kilo bombs to start with at 4.7. Just think about that. Like, you have stuff running around the air like Griefs and ME264s and Lancasters around that BR. And you're struggling with 15 50 kilo bombs. The best way to make Japanese great again when it comes to their bombers is just to give them better bomb loads off the start. It would just make them nicer to play. So it's nice that it goes down. Same story as all the other Japanese bombers though, the stock grind is the issue. The Reggiani 2005 goes up to 6.0, my god this was required. If you've ever played the Reggiani, or if you've played against it, you know how strong this machine is. If I have a look at my stats in this, because I pretty much, it was a plane I was looking forward to for a very long time, and I was very happy to see it come to the game, and let's see, so I got 23 kills, 10 deaths in it, so 2.3 KD, and 66% win rate. This was when it was first added to the game, and then people were saying, oh, well, why is its repair cost so big? You know, well, it's because it's an incredibly good machine. It does everything well. There isn't really a negative to the 2005, apart from the fact that at high altitudes it can get a little bit slow, but you don't fight at those crazy high altitudes. So to see it go up to 6.0, really not surprised. Hopefully, you know, it's able to deal with the super props up there, and if not, it'll have to deal with, you know, some of the other planes that are around the area. So yeah, I think that's justified. It's a very good plane. If you haven't played it, please play it. I know the repair cost is daunting, but at the same time, there's a reason why that repair cost is high, because it's very hard to die in it. The B-17G is getting reduced to 5.3. The B-17s are very much legacy vehicles at this point. They have still pretty good OK bomb loads, but they just get eaten by MG151s and a bunch of other stuff. So to see it go down in BR, that's positive for the B-17. Hopefully more people will play it, but I think the time of the B-17 has gone, and it went a few years ago when they did the flight model and damage model changes to it, so it wasn't able to outturn planes while they were trying to climb to it. So yeah, I would rather see a HD model upgrade of the B-17s instead of changes to their BRs, because I don't think that will, you know, change their general outcome, unless they change it drastically, of course. But putting them down to 5.3 just makes it a little bit easier for them to move around, but nothing huge. The I-225 once again gets lowered. I think this started out at 6.7 or 6.3. Now it's down to 5.7. I really like the I-225. It's a really nice plane because it's one of the only ones that the Soviets get which actually has the ability of high altitude performance. So it's one of those super props where if you fight stuff at high altitude, you can absolutely annihilate it. You know, you can do really well. It cuts through the air really nicely. A lot of stuff, you know, works incredibly well with it. And yes, it has an issue with the guns, but, you know, all of the Soviets have the issue of those guns, so you should be used to it by the point you're at 6.3. It has 420mm Shivaks, so yeah, it's one of those planes. But overall, I really enjoyed it. It obviously suffers to face jets and stuff, so to see it go down in BR and pretty much just completely get out of that jet bracket, I think is really positive for it, and I think a lot of other planes should follow suit. The F-86 F-35 is going down to 8.7. This just bolsters the 8.7 of many nations. The 8.7 has really become an insane BR when it comes to planes. You know, you've obviously got all the MiG-15s there. You've got stuff like the MiG-17s at also 9.0. in realistic for the Americans, you have, of course, the first Sabres, the A5, and now, of course, the F-35 going down to 8.7. It doesn't make sense for the F-35 to go to 8.7. It doesn't have access to air-to-air missiles, and also its performance is, you know, slightly worse than some of the other Sabres that you find at 9.0. Also at 8.7 you have a bunch of other planes such as, well, the Venom, but the main one is the Swifts for the British. The Swifts are incredibly powerful, and the only thing that I can say is with 8.7 and 9.0 being meta, obviously below the 10.3 mark, at least it gives jet pilots a place where if they don't want to play the supersonic machines, they're able to play in it. But as a person who's been trying to grind stuff like 8.0s and 7.7s, it has been absolute hell. I actually did a stream, I think it was last week, and after spading the F-80 A5, which generally faced its own BR vehicles, stuff like the ME-262 and stuff like that, we changed over to the F-80C, which I actually have fond memories of, and I played 5 battles in it, 5 battles straight to 8.7, and there was nothing I could do against any of the vehicles because I was in pretty much a 25% spaded machine, and I was just getting dicked on by 8.7, so I just stopped playing it because there's nothing I can do. This obviously adds to this issue in the form of the F-35, but as long as it gives people a BR they can play which isn't in the supersonic era, I think that's generally good. The MD452A also is getting dropped to 8.3, so that will still stay in the same BR bracket. It'll probably face the same stuff. I don't think anything will really change about that, and from my experiences in the French jets, I haven't enjoyed them at all, but I only have played the Origin and the Barrajon, so maybe it's slightly different for the higher tier ones. It's just, yeah, it's not been a pleasant experience, so maybe that lowering BR is definitely necessary. We have some helicopter BR changes. The Scout and the Wasp go down to 8.3, and the Alouettes for Germany and France also down to 8.3, and the Alouette 3 is also down to 8.3. So in the grand scheme of things, this doesn't change too much stuff. It does change it compared to some of the ground changes that, you know, have been made, but overall it should be okay. You know, it shouldn't really change that much. It just means that your lineups may be slightly different when it comes to what you're going to run it with and all that stuff, but I think overall it's positive putting these vehicles at a lower BR so they don't have to face some of the crazy high tier helicopters and also some of the crazy high tier jets that deal with them. The helicopter problem is not really with the lower tier helicopters. The helicopter problem is with all the higher tier helicopters, which they've added over the last year. So seeing these go down I think is completely fine. It just means that the introductory stage of getting into helicopters will be easier for the general person. The F-25 and the F-30 for Japan and also the F-30 for China are all going down to 8.7. So as I said, bolstering that 8.7 area, like making it incredibly strong. So that just means, as I said, 8.0s and 7.7s, good night. It was nice knowing you, and we'll see how the Sabres do react. I don't think it will change that much, but the main limiting factor for them seems to be obviously no access to air-to-air missiles, and also the fact that you can't just roll away from anything anymore because stuff has a little bit more speed nowadays. We'll have to see how this affects anything overall. The next vehicle is the J32B. This is the top tier of the Swedish lineup. It sits itself at 9.3 right now, and in my opinion it should, it sits itself at 9.0 and it's going up to 9.3. I think personally that this is actually going to go up more. I have played against the J32 a bunch of times, and I have felt like it doesn't really have a weakness. It's incredibly fast for its BR. So it can set itself up in very aggressive positions, meaning that you can't really do anything about it apart from just fly defensively. And yes, you can just fly defensively over and over and over again and hope that he runs out of ammo, but all it takes is you to make one mistake and he's going to kill you. So overall, seeing it go up in BR because of its general speed, I think is good. and we'll see if this really screws it, because now it's in that top BR bracket of 9.3 to 10.3, but I think it'll be okay. I don't think it will be absolutely mauled. It'll do better than the 7.7s do at 8.7, let's put it like that. The Sabre Dogs, the F86K for France and Italy going up to 9.3. Sabre Dogs are the best Sabres in the game, so to see them be put at a higher BR than the other Sabres is not really a surprise, and I think a good move. The UH-1D is also getting lowered to 9.0. So the UH-1D, is that the premium one for the Americans? Yes, so the UH-1D, it was also taken off the store, so when that comes back, I suppose as a special or something, at least it'll be a low BR. Once again, it's good for getting people introduced to helicopters. The G-Lynx is going up to 10.0, and so is the Lynx AH Mark 1. Wait a second, the Lynx AH Mark 1? Oh, yes, that is the last one. So the G-Lynx is the best helicopter in the... it's the best helicopter in the British tech tree, or at least for now, and it does get access to Stingers, and it also gets access to Hellfires. So to see it go up in BR isn't really a surprise. It's also got access to thermals, remember. So the only thing that's really holding it back is the range that it generally fires at. So the Lynx AH Mark 1 and the G-Lynx going up, I think, is good. Once again, it seems like they're trying to split the two helicopter areas away from each other, and there is a definite gap between the really good high-tier helicopters and the not-so-good low-tier helicopters. So to see that gap widen, I think overall is pretty good. So that's the aviation changes that are coming right now. The list might get updated at some point, but at least for now, that is the entire stuff which is changing. The ones which it's kind of weird not to see is the J-21s. The J-21s are the new Swedish aircraft, the A2, A3, A1. These are incredibly good machines, along with their jet versions as well. I thought they would go up in BR, but it seems like they put everything else up in BR for Sweden as well. So there isn't really changes here which I disagree with, apart from the B-18A. I think that's a little bit crazy going up, especially when there are other machines like, as I said, the Farman and some of the early British bombers, which are very low in BR too. Yeah, CR32 BIS, I suppose, is kind of weird, but I wonder if there's a reason behind that. And I would actually not put down the Firecrest. I'd keep the Firecrest at 4.0, but everything else looks pretty good to me. I can at least maybe understand some rationalization for all of them, trying to force certain BRs to be meta over others, but yeah, it's mostly good. And I would say pretty good job. The next one, when it comes to ground vehicles and fleet, we'll cover in another video, just because this one has gone so long already. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Ambrosius McClellan, B. Young, Blackie, Chris Giltnane, Daniel Stanton, Jay Wilt, John Ryman, Martinez, Moxie, Super Cacti, Trigger Hippie, Eugens Terry, and also Elove Goat and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.